Journal.
A beautiful day with lots of sunshine and good driving conditions, but those roadway benefits did not prevent a terrible traffic accident on Interstate 75 at lunchtime today. It was an accident many seasoned rescue personnel at the scene said was the worst they had ever seen. Good evening, everyone.
It was a chain reaction fiery crash on the interstate today at lunchtime. It left at least 3 people dead and 7 injured. 6 cars and a semi-truck were involved in the crash in the northbound lane of 75. The accident occurred about 500 yards south of the State Route 81 Lima exit. Rescue and fire crews from a number of different jurisdictions were on the scene, taking away the injured today. Fire crews were on hand trying to put out the fire that engulfed 3 cars and the cab of the semi-truck. It has taken quite a while to try and figure out this accident on the interstate today. Some of the dead were burned beyond recognition. Now, the State Patrol was in charge of the accident scene today, and this is what they knew about an hour after it happened.
Multiple fatal. We're not sure exactly how many vehicles. Somewhere around 7, at least 3 dead that we know of. The accident was a chain reaction type thing where a escort was going through the area, had a slow speed. Traffic stopped, the semi-tractor trailer didn't, and went into the traffic. From that point on, we're starting to put everything together now.
Talking to some longtime law enforcement officials at the scene, they said it was the worst accident they had seen. One mentioned to me that more lives could have been lost had the concrete barrier not been in the middle of the highway, preventing those in the accident from possibly crossing into oncoming southbound traffic. Smoke could be seen for miles, and if you noticed more traffic than usual in the city of Lima today, especially truck traffic, it was because of this accident. Traffic was rerouted through town. There are still no names being released in this mishap. The dead need to be identified. Next of kin will have to be notified. The injured were taken to Memorial Hospital. One of the injured has been transferred to Grant Medical Center in Columbus. We hope to have those details for you tonight at 11 o'clock.
Well, of course, those killed and injured in this accident are in immediate need of concern, but those who tend to them cannot help but be affected. With us tonight are 2 Bath Township firefighters who were among the first at the scene, Chief Mike Knotts and Lieutenant Bud Linton. Thanks for being here today after such a rough day. Can you tell us what was your impression when you arrived at the accident scene?
Your first impression is what do I have? What am I going to do? You're thinking constantly about what's going on when you're coming up on location, when you're seeing the smoke, and you're just hoping for the best, and today it was the worst.
Are you as shocked as some of those that were witnessing the scene itself, or have you become so seasoned that you don't look at it in that perspective?
You never get seasoned in something like this. You do your job as a professional, and then later when you go back to the station, you critique what has gone on, you talk about it, you get some of the inner feelings out, and it does make you feel better. But you are human, and you do have your emotions, but you don't let those emotions show on a scene.
Okay. Now, we don't know the identities of those who died, but what can you tell us about the survivors themselves?
Myself, I don't know anything about the survivors for the simple reason I was taking care of most of the fire duties, keeping the emergency vehicles coming in, the extra personnel, and containing that.
I understand the semi-truck driver survived, is that correct?
The way I understand it, yes.
Okay. Now, this may sound like somewhat of a cold question, but do accidents like this make you actually more careful in your driving?
Oh, definitely so. This sticks in your mind for a long, long time after the accident. It's just one of these things that you just got to talk about it and try to block it out of your mind as quick as you can. Okay. And yes, you do slow down for a while after this happens.
Okay. Again, thank you for being here tonight, and thanks for being on the job to help in those situations.
Thank you.
In another area township, it's a waiting
A special session of the Allen County Grand Jury was convened today to present evidence in the case of 57-year-old Johnny Morris. He's the Muncie, Indiana truck driver accused of triggering the deadly chain reaction crash 1 week ago on Interstate 75. Morris now faces a total of 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter and could face a 4th following the death of Edith Scott of Kenton. Each count carries a possible sentence of 1 to 3 years. As the grand jury met, the investigation into the accident continued. Morris says his throttle stuck as he approached a line of cars that had stopped to allow room for a wide load. Well, State Patrol investigators have checked some areas of Morris's truck. Lima Post Commander Lieutenant J.J. Ramey says the mechanisms that needed checked have been, except for one, which is taking place in Columbus.
Our motor carrier enforcement people who were at the scene, they've completed their inspection of the truck. They've checked the linkage, the throttle linkage, the linkage all the way to the pedal, and found that that was functioning properly and there was no apparent problem there. But in order to touch all the bases, make sure that we've covered all the ground, we have taken the injector pump and a portion of the engine off, and we've taken that to a laboratory in Columbus who's going to examine that.
Lieutenant Ramey says the blood alcohol test is back and the accident was not alcohol related. They are awaiting results of the drug test. Investigators have determined that Morris was traveling about 61 miles per hour when he struck the vehicles, 6 miles per hour above the limit for trucks, and troopers saw no skid marks at the scene. Also, after initial impact, the vehicles traveled 400 feet. The 2 victims that remain hospitalized, Clint Briggs of Delphus and Lima's Marquita Spees, are both still in fair condition. Well, U.S. Route 30 could become a safer road to travel now that expansion work has been